So one of the best parts of the X-Men from the Ashes era, the Storm series, has now reached the conclusion of the Thunder War. The brawl for it all between the original Thunder God, Hadad, and the mistress of the elements herself, Storm. But this battle is not going to end the way a lot of you might think it will. At least, not the way the Storm thought.
You can't see me, you Stevie, wondering how I reach more evolutions than Eevee and make it look easy.
Alright, so Storm number 12. In this one, we have got what I think is probably one of the more interesting interactions that I think Aurora Monroe, aka Storm, has ever had in her entire publication history with another villain. And I say this because under normal circumstances, whenever Storm faces off with someone, even people who are more powerful than herself, she is often overcome. She is often, stood up to the challenge, met the challenge head on, and even beaten people who, on paper, she probably should not have beat. But in this particular case, when she faces off with the OG original recipe Thunder God himself, Hadad, it don't look good for her. At least at first. When they first face off with each other, it's bad. Like, Storm is getting worked. Like, I'm talking the season 2 villain of your favorite anime levels of wrecked. Like, this is where everything changes. Everything you thought you knew about Storm is going to be turned upside down because Hadad don't care. And it's really interesting to me too, and we never really get to dig into this, and I'm pretty sure the reasoning behind why is because it's going to be saved for after the Age of Revelation event. But we get some insight into why Hadad might not be the bad guy in all this. Why maybe, as much as I hate the term of fill in the blank villain was right, because a lot of the times that people use that saying, they're not really looking at it from a nuanced perspective. It's literally just another way of saying a broken clock can be right twice a day. That's really all anyone is saying to me when they say, like, oh, Thanos was right, or even Magneto was right. Pretty much any villain, or even former villain, if you try to tell me or convince me they were right, I'm just gonna assume that what you really mean is broken clock right twice a day. That's what I'm gonna assume, because otherwise, you are cooked. The thing that really stuck out to me here is that Hadad doesn't really seem to be so much an unruly child who has come back to get revenge on his father, because that's something that we have to take in consideration. Hadad was created by eternity. So, this is literally a son, the prodigal son coming home, to get his lick back. And we know that Hadad was so powerful that he was able to control all the other primordial forces of the universe. He was able to control not just eternity, but infinity, as well as oblivion. And he was able to wield them as weapons. And the only person who could take him down was the one above all, who is the uncreated creator, the person who is quite literally the God, you big G, of the Marvel Comics universe. And Eternity, the son of the one above all, he created something that was so powerful that was even more powerful than Eternity himself. And it kind of seemed like, oh yeah, this guy's just bad news. But as it turns out, no, this is not an unruly child, but this is someone who very well might have been an abused child coming back to make things right. And by make things right is to hand that abuse back tenfold, to destroy Eternity and get revenge for the way that he was treated, the way that he was used. And like I said, it's not ever really delved into very deeply, but enough is said that it's very clear Hadad is not the bad guy. Yes, he's doing bad things. He is doing things that puts him in direct opposition of Storm. So he is less a villain and just more of an antagonist. That is basically what he is in this. He is not Storm's villain. In any other setting, I could very easily see Hadad and Storm being on the same side of things. There's even a point where Hadad even says as much, that his desires are many, but watching you die like an animal, not knowing why you are being put down, is not one of them. He makes it pretty clear. He has no beef with Storm other than the fact that she is trying to stop him from exacting his revenge. Which, to be fair, it's fair for Storm to do so, because him enacting his revenge would literally destroy the universe, which means everybody in it. So yeah, it's a bit much. Now, to Haddad, that ain't shit. He don't care. He knows the universe will be reborn anyway. But, to everybody else, I would imagine every other hero in the universe would take it personally. Even though technically at the very beginning, it is kind of funny how all of the Thunder War is raging and, across the entire globe, you can see people noticing what's happening in the sky, and leave it to Rogue to be like, nah, we still having our crawfish boil over here. Storm's got this. It's just like, well, yes, this is a situation where everybody should be all hands on deck. Yeah, Storm's got it. And while it didn't seem like it at first, she actually did. The thing about Haddad is that he is very dismissive, being the eldest Storm god. It makes sense that he doesn't think very highly of Storm, considering that he is quite literally the first Thunder god ever, therefore presumably the strongest, but also of all the Thunder gods, Storm is the only one who's not necessarily cut from the same cloth as all the other Thunder gods. She's not born of eternity. She can't trace her lineage back to eternity. However, she can trace her lineage back to Aisha of the Balabedo, and we talked about this before, how it's been kind of slowly and more frequently being mentioned that she has the blood of Agamotto in her, and now it makes even more sense when they actually do point out that she is the blood of Oster. While yes, every Storm god in the Marvel Comics universe can trace their lineage back to eternity, and even more specifically, the elder god Gaia, Storm cannot do so. She can, however, trace her lineage back to Oster, as it is mentioned in both this issue and as Storm mentions in the issue prior. And Oster, for those who do not know, is one of the elder gods born from the Demiurge. And for those unfamiliar, the Demiurge is quite literally the personification and embodiment of the Earth's biosphere, and is a direct creation of the One above all. The Demiurge himself is responsible for the creation of many of the elder gods. As a matter of fact, Gaia is one of the Demiurge's children, as is Oster. So when you really think about it, even though technically she can't trace her lineage back to Gaia, she can trace her lineage back to another of the Demiurge's children. So this is no less important. Now I will say, Murray was playing a little fast and loose with some Marvel Comics continuity here, because he does mention that Eternity was the one who created the Elder Gods that we were just talking about. The characters like Oster and Gaia and so on and so forth. But to my understanding and the way I've always known it, that is actually not really truly the case, at least not directly. Once again, under normal circumstances, the Demiurge is responsible for creating a lot of the Elder Gods as we know them. Now, one could make the argument that maybe the Demiurge and Eternity are just two sides of the same coin, or maybe the Demiurge is just spawned from Eternity, but the truth of the matter is, the Demiurge was created by the One Above All, so if anything, the Demiurge is more like a sibling of Eternity as opposed to being, anything else. And while Eternity is responsible for the entire universe, the Demiurge is literally responsible for the creation of life on planet Earth. So I don't know if Morewa is retconning some stuff here, or like what's going on here. I'm pretty sure I'll get an answer from him when I reach out. But as far as I know, I feel like there's been some liberties taken here, but I'm willing to go with it. I mean, I don't think any of it's bad. It's just that I just want to make sure we're all on the same page when we say who created what, who came from who. That type of a timeline, that type of a family tree, it matters when we're talking about what characters have power levels in regards to other characters, like, so on and so forth. That type of stuff is really important. Real quick, I just wanted to tap in and tell you guys about a Kickstarter for a comic called Midnight Tiger Evo #1. This is a continuation of another series called Midnight Tiger that is by friend of the channel, Ray Anthony Height. Some of you may already be familiar with Ray's work. He has done stuff like the DC Power issue that came out earlier this year during Black History Month. That was the very same issue that had one of my personal favorite stories, dynamic duo that starred Jace Fox as Batman and Duke Thomas as the Signal, with them working together. This is something I actually talked about. He provided the art for that story. He's also provided art for plenty of other comics like Dr. Aphra, as well as the Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur series. And you just go look the guy up. Man's fantastic. But his Midnight Tiger series is one of his creator-owned works, and it's one of those types of projects that I often try to tell people about because it stars a young black superhero that is not owned by any major publication, and also tells what I think is a very compelling story of a young black hero trying to find his place in the world, specifically, in this case, Gavin Shaw, who has the titular powers of the Midnight Tiger, and they're about what you would probably expect based on the name, and kind of like a mix of Spider-Man vibes, maybe more specifically some Miles Morales vibes, some Black Panther vibes, but also at the same time is totally its own thing. And the new upcoming Midnight Tiger Evo is actually going to be taking Gavin to his limit, kind of like a season 2 anime villain always ups the ante from what you thought you knew in the first season. This is kind of what's going to be going on with this one, where Midnight Tiger is going to be going up against this strange supernatural race of creatures who are trying to start trouble in his neighborhood. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link down below. I'll try and leave it in the description, pin comment below. If any of this sounds of interest to you, go check out Sky Tiger Studios and go pick up the first trade of Midnight Tiger. And if Midnight Tiger Evo sounds like something you're interested in, go check that out too. Go back it on Kickstarter. It's one of my personal favorite indie comics and creator-owned series, and it's something I really believe in. So if you believe in it too, go back Midnight Tiger. Anyway, let's get back to the video. But regardless of whatever, at the end of the day, Storm, her lineage is no less strong than any of the other Thunder Gods. Let's go ahead and get that straightened out right away. Another thing that's really interesting here is, well, yes, Storm gets her ass kicked for the first half of this fight, but over the course of that, while all this is going on, the one above all is conversing with his son, Eternity. And while I don't want to rehash everything that is said, it can basically all be broken down to the one above all sees Eternity as a good kid. However, he also sees Eternity as a poor father. He doesn't feel like he should be dragged into Eternity's mess, because at the end of the day, Eternity is responsible for all the things that have gone wrong. Instead of playing nice with his brother Oblivion, or at least trying to compromise with him, he kept constantly trying to kill Oblivion. And because Eternity was always trying to take him out, Oblivion was like, well, yeah, screw it, it's open season. I'm gonna have fun with this because I know he can't do anything to me. And now, because of the fact that a creation of Eternity has done the one thing Eternity never could, and that's defeat Oblivion, he's feeling some type of way. But also at the same time, looking at Hadad is like looking into a mirror. He hates Hadad because he sees so much of himself in Hadad. And it's kind of like the sins of the father will be visited upon the son type of situation. Like, that's kind of what's going on here. While Hadad is Eternity's greatest creation, he hates him for being that. He hates him for being all the things that he could never be. To be able to do the things he was never able to do. Now, once Eternity has this come to Jesus moment with literal, actual God in the Marvel Comics universe, he returns to Storm and he apologizes, because that's something that you can't forget. He has been forcing Storm to do things without her knowledge, taking away entire hours, days from Storm's life, to where she has no clue what she's been up to. The fact that she had Abraxas, one of Eternity's sons, the embodiment of destruction, hidden away inside the Storm Sanctuary, and she didn't even know it. Not at first. And there's probably tons of other things that Eternity has done behind Storm's back. And he apologizes for him. And kind of in a moment of my body, my choice, basically, Storm makes it clear. This is her body. It is not to be used without her permission, to do things without her permission, to harm people without her permission. And Eternity relents and says, yeah, you're right. I was wrong. And Storm is not wrong in her assessment of Eternity. She has been tasked with defending something that has mistreated her, in so many ways. She has been granted power unimaginable, but yet that very same power that has been granted to her has taken advantage of, and in a lot of ways has assaulted her, exploited her, and been very cruel in doing so. And here we are again, where she is face to face with Hadad, now fully combined with the might of eternity, and now they're operating in concert. So now Hadad is no match for Storm and Eternity together as the Eternal Storm. This turns into what is quite literally one of the world's most one-sided ass kickings. And it's not even close. The moment that Storm and Eternity see eye to eye, it is a wrap for Hadad. Storm quite literally drags Hadad across the earth and beats him within an inch of his life, quite literally smashing his face apart. And it seems like at this moment that, yeah, it's over. It's done. The fight has been won. Hadad has been defeated. But that is not entirely the case. Storm now has Hadad at her mercy. And while Hadad had no problem whatsoever with trying to destroy the universe, with trying to destroy Storm herself, she, as we all know, Storm is not one who leaps at the idea of unaliving anyone. That's not her thing. She's not a murderous person by any stretch of the imagination. That is always the last option on the table. So what she wants to do is what she's been doing to everybody else. All of the other Thunder Gods who tried to destroy her, she has placed them in a pocket dimension where they cannot return from. Well, as it turns out, that is not what Eternity wants. And Eternity forces Storm to kill Hadad. And it's at this moment where the truce is off. Eternity has broken the vow, the promise, the very thing he was apologizing for just a few pages ago. He has already moonwalked that back. And whether or not Storm will remain the host of Eternity is another story altogether. However, once we get to the end of this, we see that Storm has been jaded by Eternity. She does not ever seemingly want to have anything to do with Eternity ever again. She seems to get rid of Eternity by the end of this. We see her surrounded by black electricity, and we even see her thought bubbles are different than what they normally would be, being black thought bubbles with white text, kind of insinuating that something different is going on now with Storm. Whether or not she still possesses the power of the Rogue Storm itself is another story altogether, but we definitely know that Eternity is gone. It is pretty much stated that she, with every fiber of her being, rejects Eternity and pretty much, removes him, from, herself. Now, the thing I initially thought was, what if, because Hadad has been defeated, and Hadad had control of the Black Winter. And typically, the way it usually works, if you can defeat the Black Winter, you gain control of it. More or less. Hadad defeated the Black Winter and gained control of it, so why couldn't Storm? That's the thing I kind of started wondering about with this, but we don't know. We have no idea, because Storm, as a series, is about to go on hiatus. We know that the next thing that's going to come up is the Rogue Storm series that is going to be a tie-in to the Age of Revelation, which is going to be a series that's basically going to focus on both Rogue and Storm. Initially, when this was announced, I was thinking maybe, is this going to be like, Storm going to the full-on Rogue Storm mode from like back in the, old Uncanny X-Men Chris Claremont days? No, maybe, but maybe not really. But because of the fact that it was the Rogue logo that is largely associated with her character, yeah, it's just going to be a duo series between the two characters. The reason why this story is going to be very interesting is because it's actually not these characters working together. It is going to be these characters working against one another. As the blurb at the end says, kill the goddess, save the world. With Earth's gods gone, only Aurora Monroe, the mutant storm goddess, remains. Driven mad by dark magic and grief, Storm threatens to kick off a new ice age. In response, Rogue puts together an uncanny X-Force with a singular mission: kill Storm. So that's going to be interesting. So I guess what technically has happened here is that this is going to be a Storm who gave in to the Rogue Storm entity from back in the day. Some of you may or may not remember where Storm had quite literally turned into a being not that dissimilar from the Dark Phoenix. We're talking 1981's Uncanny X-Men number 147, in case you're curious. But yeah, that's what this sounds like. Now, once the Age of Revelation wraps up, we know that Storm is going to get a new series, once again by Marewa Ayodele, that's going to be called Storm, Earth's Mightiest Mutant, very similar to the subtitle of the very first trade in this series that's running right now. Now, getting away from that, we also have to keep in mind there's going to be a new Sorcerer Supreme on the horizon, and it cannot be ignored that the very closeout of this series, at least as far as leading up to Age of Revelation, involves Dr. Voodoo and how he runs afoul of a bunch of different, like, dead, or rather undead, versions of some of Marvel's greatest heroes and villains, one in particular being Gore the God Butcher, and this is because he has gone to the realm of death and has been caught slipping. And now, Death, wanting revenge for what happened to Oblivion and how Eternity handled the whole situation, we now see that she is prepared to make Dr. Voodoo her avatar of death and wage a war above all, insinuating that she's planning to take the fight not just to Eternity, not just to Earth and humanity, but it seems like she's willing to take this fight to the one above all as well. And it is highly implied that in the wake of One World Under Doom, in the aftermath of that, there'll be a new Sorcerer Supreme. And the odds are kind of high, it could be Storm. So yeah, I mean, it would fit because we gotta remember, Storm's lineage, she is descended from the second ever Sorcerer Supreme. She has magic literally in her bloodline. Multiple characters who she is descended from have powerful magic at their disposal. And she has recently revealed she has access to that magic and can wield it should she choose to. Gonna be crazy. But anyway, that's the end of the video. If you enjoyed this, make sure you hit that like button because it helps me find more viewers like yourself. Also, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already and tap that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on any of my videos. And also, there's a new feature if you're watching this video on your phone. There's a hype feature, which kind of works similarly to the like button. But this one's whole specific purpose is to give viewers direct control over what videos you get pushed out to everybody else. Yes, the like button kind of does the same thing, but this is a little bit more direct. So if you hit that hype button, hype a brother up, it'll help get this video out in front of way more people than it would have on its own. So anyway, yeah, do all that and let me know what you think about what's going on with Storm in the comments below. And I'll catch y'all next time. Keep it plus ultra. Till then, peace out.